Let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover today. And welcome everybody to this meeting of the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees. Let's go ahead and get started with a roll call, if we could. Oh, sorry. And we do have our quorum, right? Yeah.
That's okay. Jean Brady. Jean Brady is not present today. Joanne Harris. Present. Josie Martinez. Josie Martinez is not present today. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Present.
Jeremy Landin. Here. Paul Stahl.
Here.
Jaspreet Kaur.
Here.
Judy Cruz. Linda Naren. Here. Chair, we have a quorum. We have a quorum.
We'll have a few moments of silent meditation to gather our thoughts before we begin today. Thank you all very much. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Those were distributed already to us ahead of time. Anybody wants to quickly review them, and I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as were distributed prior to this meeting.
So we don't have anybody virtual or remote. We can go back to taking the votes from the dais. So I will say we have a motion. We have a second. There's no discussion. So I'll do just a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you all very much. Move on now to public comments. And I believe we have one submitted. We have two submitted, one audio and one in writing. Is that correct, Cynthia?
Yes. I'm going to read the one by Diane Dusteroff at 5227 Wildflower Drive, San Antonio, Texas, zip code 78228. I left my verbal comments on the phone line, but in case it wasn't recorded, here are my written comments. I am not able to attend today's San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees meeting, but I wanted to share my observations about Jeremy Landin's service on the San Antonio Public Library Board. I have served as a treasurer of the Memorial Amigos since 2011. I have also served as secretary for most of the time as well. I have observed that Jeremy has been very engaged board member in working with the Friends groups in District 5. He joined all the Friends groups of District 5 libraries and participated in at least one of our meetings. Jeremy also made the time to meet with library staff at the District 5 libraries and to learn their needs. As you know, Memorial Library has been closed for reconstruction for several years now. After raising concern about the staff operating out of the mobile library bus for more than a year without restroom facilities on the premises, Jeremy identified the current location where temporary service are being offered, the National Archives of the Marianas Province of the United States, located on the edge of the St. Mary's University campus, and practically across the street from Memorial Library. The staff have expressed gratitude for working in a climate-controlled building with restroom facilities. I appreciate Jeremy's engagement with the Friends group and the library staff in the district he is serving. He has provided an excellent model of engagement for other San Antonio Public Library Board members. And here is another, this is a voice message by Richard Garcia.
president of the Memorial Heights Neighborhood Association. Address is 166 Tesla Drive, here in the city, 78228. And this message is for the board members and also for Mr. Jeremy Landin. Mr. Landin is president of Memorial Heights, and I just want to say on behalf of our Memorial Heights and our community that I want to thank you very, very much for all you have done for us. I know you've been part of also of the Friends of the Library and Memorial. You've been very active with us, and we're going to miss your presence. I want to thank you. You've done a lot for us in advocating for us. Advocating being the key word, advocating for us and just being there for us and keeping us informed and knowing that we have a contact person that we could reach out to and to get things done in our library. We're very discouraged that you're going to be leaving for obvious reasons or whatever reason that you won't be with us anymore. And I can't remember the last time that we had someone like yourself that did so much for us in such a short time. You really did a lot for us in such a short time, and advocating for us. I just hope and pray, and I challenge the new person that comes in, he or she will be as active as you are, and be also friends of the library, and be active with us, and reach out to us, and because in previous years we didn't even know who the president or who the board member was for District 5. If she was, I think it was a person by the name of Lupe. I'm not sure, but she wasn't very involved or active, but anyway, not like you. But anyway, thank you very much. Muchas gracias for everything that you have done for us, Mr. Landin, and I just want to thank you on behalf of the Memorial Branch Library. We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, whatever you decide to do. But anyway, you've been a very blessing to us, and you've been very, very helpful, and you've been a great activist in helping us and a great advocate for us. Okay, thank you very much, and just want to leave that message for the library board and for the and let you all know how we feel about it. Thank you.
That concludes our public comments. Great. Thank you very much. Jeremy, your fan club is out there. Good job, great job representing your district. I'm glad that you're here with us today. So we'll move on to the report from the Library Board Chair. A reminder that today's meeting is being live streamed via YouTube. If I told my mom that, she'd probably be on watching if she knew how to get there. I invited her actually to come to the meeting. My 91-year-old mother and father have moved down from Dallas, so they're here close by. And so you might see them in the audience sometime, especially if my mom knows what time we meet. She'd love to see her baby boy up here, but anyway. So welcome to those on YouTube watching us. A friendly reminder on the Municipal Leadership Institute training, if everyone's done that, or if you haven't done that. I don't have a list of who has and who hasn't, but I don't remember when that due date is. I'm going to put someone on the spot. Does somebody know? So I haven't gotten one recently. So I also haven't checked my spam recently. So
They haven't set one for October.
okay,
It's just the
okay,
September.
great. I participated in the library's budget presentation to the City Council a few weeks back and delivered some remarks on behalf of the Library Board. I thought that went very well. Romero did a great job. Staff did a great job preparing for that. So I thought all that went well. And then in your packets is the 2023 work plan. We're going to be discussing that and have an action item for that next month, but I want y'all to I rarely give homework. I'm one of the only ones up here that hasn't been a teacher, right? But you've got homework. Look at that work plan, because I want your thoughts so we can have some good discussion on it next month. And also, if you have any feedback you want to give me before the next month's meeting, do that as well. And we've added advocacy. We've added advocacy to the PR committee, expanding that a little bit, give them a little bit more scope to assist beyond PR. So that's something that's been done. as well as the committees, the last item I have, the committees for next year. Those are in your packets as well, as they always are. So review those, whether you're on one or not on one. If you're not on one and would like to be, let me know that. If you're on one, you want to move, would like to contribute somewhere else, let me know that as well. I'll be considering how to spread those out. And I think year after year, I feel very fortunate that there's enough that want to be able to serve on those committees, and others reach out to me and say, I want to be on it. The timing is just not right now, and that's great knowledge as well, because we know that in the future, I know in the future, that should the stars align better, that we'd be able to count on you for that. So definitely give that a thought as well, and give me some feedback so I can make educated appointments on that. So that's what I have, and that's one of the longest reports I've ever given. And now I'm going to say, like I said, we've got a lot to cover. If there anybody that has anything pressing, and not to even put you on the spot, if anybody has something they'd like to share, feel free to do so. If you don't have anything, that's fine as well. I'm going to start with you, Jaspreet, if you have anything you want to share.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I did detect that you don't want us to share because we have a fact-packed agenda, so I'll make this very quick. I wasn't here at the last board meeting. I did listen to it virtually, but I wanted to give kudos to Dale, and it's like a great reminder that's right on the cover of our packet. He was on TPR, and I thought that was lovely. I really enjoyed that, and I hope that there is more opportunity in the future to do things like that, just connect with our city that way. And then I also wanted to just say how lovely the program at Encino Branch Library was this morning. Of course, missed Marcy very much there, but the playground was lovely, and the whole program was like really well done, and it was very short and just focused on the good stuff, so that was fantastic. It's really nice when we can partner with our city council staff so closely, and a special thank you to Kathy and Mark, because I know you were there at the starting line and the finish line, and that's rare to have that consistent push. So thank you both very much for everything that you all did there. It was fantastic. That's all.
I just wanted to inform the board, if they have October the 6th through the 9th, they will be celebrating the San Antonio Black International Film Festival, and this year it's going to be all animation. And so it's going to incorporate the St. Philip's, the Carver Community Center, and then also the Carver Branch Library will host some of those events. So they have different schools. They're going to have workshops. They're going to teach the kids they're going to learn about how to produce animation themselves. So they have schools that are going to be coming to learn about that, but it will be from the 6th through the 9th. Thank you.
Quickly, I was at the event today, and I was blown away by how many kids were on the playground. So the word is definitely out in the community that there's a new playground, and it was such a nice turnout. But I kept thinking of that saying, if they build, they will come. And oh my gosh, those kids came out. So super excited for all the little patrons at Encino. So that's all.
Jealous, not just because of the great weather, but great turnout, great event, great everything on that. So.
The best quote I heard when I was leaving the branch was a little boy. He must have been 2. And his mom said, "Hey, you said you wanted to leave." And he said, "No, I want to read books." And I was like, check, done, we're done.
That's great. Andrea?
So I was able to attend our D4 quarterly meetings that our councilwoman has for all her representatives, and she highlighted the budget and, Johnston's HVAC, so I was really excited. And it's just nice to hear, the passion that other people have that serve on other boards and committees for libraries that you wouldn't necessarily, you would think that they would, but we have readers out there. We just need to tap into them, so.
I got to go attend a neighborhood community meeting for the District 10 area and got to get up and talk about the library and things that they'd get to do at the library, and so that was nice to do. And so that was what I did.
So I thought of sharing a whole lot, and then I decided, no,
Don't-
not necessarily.
Don't do this to me, guys.
No,
You
no,
got a bunch
I
to
thought of
share.
sharing a whole
Share
lot like weeks ago. But then I decided not to, so I wrote a lot of cards. So most of y'all should have received cards. So I just visited my branches and just want to say thank you.
Everyone, we will move on to now the item number 4, Director's Report. Romero?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you have a written report, but I would like to elaborate and share with you some informational items. First of all, pleased to announce that we will be creating, as part of our reporting to the board in the Director's Report, a section for programming to seniors. So we'll be isolating and we will be focusing on senior services to seniors, very much like we do with teen services, youth services, adult services. So I wanted to let you know that effective October 21st, you'll be seeing reports specifically highlighting programs and services to seniors. Additionally, on October 4th, the library administration will be sharing the status of our strategic planning process. As you know, we're working on a strategic plan. And we've been invited to provide a briefing to the Community, Health, Environment, and Culture Committee, known internally as CHEC Committee, again on October 4th. Jessica will be making the presentation to brief the Council Committee on where we are with the strategic planning process. I also wanted to give you a heads up. As you know, we've been experiencing a lot of delays, quite frankly, in many of our improvement projects due to the supply chain issue that all of us, many entities are facing. So that's happening with the Cortez Branch Library. As you recall, we closed the branch on September 6th to make improvements to the HVAC system. We figured that we would be done in 3 to 4 weeks. That didn't happen. We received the equipment and so on, but not all the equipment was received, again, because attributed to supply chain issues. So that project will probably be completed late October. Definitely, it will be ready to accept voting in November. But I wanted to alert you, and we didn't have a chance to actually brief the Facilities Committee, so I figured that today would give the board a heads up regarding that particular situation, that development with the Cortez HVAC system. We will continue to offer interim services at the Ramirez Community Center, which is about 1.5 miles away from the Cortez Branch Library. So we heard about the Encino Playground ribbon cutting. That was great. Congratulations and kudos to all of our staff members who work in front and back of the line to make that initiative happen. And lastly, as you know, the libraries, public libraries in Texas are by state statute recognized as official voter registration sites. We take that responsibility very seriously, and the last day to register to vote is October 11th, so we will be ramping up our communications and reminding the public that they can come to a library and get registered to vote. We will have a media event, and that's scheduled for, do we have a date, Jessica? Wednesday, October the 5th. We're working on the time, we'll share that. Okay. So it's tentative, okay. All right, thank you. And that concludes, one important, which is coming up before we meet, again, before the board meets again, Staff Day. Staff Day on October 10th. As you may recall, you authorized to close the library system to bring all employees together. Most of all employees will come together at the convention center. This is an event specifically designed to celebrate our employees, given that given the challenges that they face, we all face during the the pandemic, and this is an opportunity to engage the employees, not only celebrating them, but to offer activities and programs to, again, celebrate their contributions, to acknowledge them, and also there will be some staff development activities. So it starts 8 to 8:30. So all of you are invited, and you can attend the whole day or part of the day. You can join us for lunch or for breakfast. It's up to you. We want to be as flexible as possible. If you can just let us know so that we can make sure we can accommodate you, direct you to whatever location you're interested in or activity you might be interested in participating or attending or overseeing. So it starts at 8 to 8:30 is breakfast and networking. Our opening session, that's when I will do the welcome. And we have invited Paul to join us to also welcome all of our employees to the opening session. Then there will be a series of breakout sessions. I'll give you a sampling of those. And then the city manager will arrive at 11:15 and will address our employees. And then we have lunch 11:30 to 1 p.m. Our assistant city manager, who's here, David McCary, will also be participating. He will probably participate in the staff recognition and closing, which is at 3:15 to 4:15. So that's an event to recognize employees for years of service. So I wanted to share that with you, just to give you a quick sampling of some of the activities. We'll have loteria, we have yoga with Mobile Fit, we have libraries change lives, tell your story, culinary traditions of South Texas. I'm just highlighting a few. Speed meeting with library leadership. One of the things that employees told us through a staff survey is that would like an opportunity to have a FaceTime with the administrative staff, which includes myself and Kathy and Dale and Jessica. And building a better team, one brick at a time. And then there will be a staff art show, so you can see the tremendous talent that exists throughout the library system. So you're invited to attend that as well. So again, you're invited. I hope you can join us for all day or part of the day. Let us know. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ramiro. Any questions for Ramiro?
Ramiro, you reported in the director's report about a town hall that you had with staff. We answered your questions. Are there any meetings or insights you can share with us?
So when the city manager released his proposed budget to city council, we felt that would be and he encouraged department directors to facilitate communication of what was proposed in the budget to all departments. I decided to hold 2 virtual town hall meetings. We're so large and we're spread and we had good participation. It was all positive. The feedback was good, but it was an opportunity for employees to learn about what was proposed in the budget and how it would affect not only the library as an organization, but there were some compensation initiatives included in the proposed budget, and it was all positive from my recollection. I don't recall any quasi-positive feedback from employees.
Anybody else have any questions for Ramiro on this report?
I get to try to substitute for Gabby, which is an impossible task, but I will do my best. So on green paper in your packet, you'll find the budget report from October 1st through August 31st. So we have 1 more month left in the fiscal year, which you'll get that end of year report next month. But at this point in the fiscal year reporting, 92% of the year has elapsed, and you'll see we're pretty much right on target at 92% spent or encumbered. This is the time of year where we start looking at some timing differences with our spending. There's some cases where we've issued orders, for example, but they might come in after September 30. We are able to make requests to carry forward that funding, so we'll get the full benefit of the fiscal year budget. We won't leave any money on the table in that regard. So now's the time of year where we kind of start the closeout process, and so next month, you'll get a full year report for the whole of the spending for the fiscal year. And with that, there's not really anything too significant and new to report, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Not here is because I don't even know how many hours left. I normally know how many hours are left in the fiscal year since I sell to the military and the government. That's why I'm being rude and can occasionally check my phone here, because sometimes I have to spend money right up until the end, right? So I don't know if Gabby's back there, making sure it all comes out. Anybody have any questions? Great. Okay. Thanks, Gabby. Move on to item number 6, report from the executive committee. We met last week to set this agenda. Item number 7, report from the budget committee. No.
We did not. We didn't have our last meeting because it was right around budget adoption time. So instead of doing that, we sent to the board, of course, a recap of what got adopted. And I'll just very briefly, because I know you're really familiar with this at this point, but just very quickly, I'll give a recap. Basically, highly successful budget year for the library. We, of course, got the $1.5 million additional in books and materials, so that completed our 5-year collection development plan 2 years early, so that's super exciting. That's going to reduce the wait time for popular materials by several weeks. We received the 2 positions for the Texana Resource Center, so those positions will be hired to help open the new center next year. Next fiscal year, I should say. And we did also get some contractual mandates, which are significant because it totals over $300,000. This is where we have a contract change, for example, a new contract for security guards, and there are price increases. So this makes it so that we can cover those price increases, so we're not diluting the services that we can access through those contracts. We were able to get a slight change in our fee schedule. This is for IGO, Mission, and Parman meeting rooms. We used to have a pretty complicated fee schedule for those meeting rooms because they're the big auditoriums that you can divide, and it was very complicated. So now it's super simple, and a flat fee. If you rent half the space, that's $20 an hour, which is similar to the other smaller meeting rooms, and then $40 for the whole space. We also got a number of deferred maintenance projects and capital projects. We'll be able to do IGO, HVAC, Maverick Library improvements, Great Northwest improvements, Brook Hollow parking lot, Memorial roof replacement, which was super exciting because that was the one piece of scope we couldn't squeeze out of the bond funds. And then we got shortfall funding for 3 HVAC projects, which is super significant for Guerra, Pan Am, and Johnston. So we'll be able to do the full scope of what's needed at those locations, because once the design was done, with some price escalations that we experienced, we had a major shortfall. So that shortfall funding is actually $1 million for those 3 projects. So we were really excited with all of those projects. And then finally, in terms of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, as well as our PC replacement, it's almost $700,000 for those needs across the library system. So those were also fully funded. And so I just really want to thank the Budget Committee under Jaspreet's leadership, as well as the full board, for your support. And then, of course, citywide, the compensation changes are very significant for the new fiscal year. I heard today that staff are starting to get their letters of what that means to them specifically, but at minimum, each civilian employee will be getting a 7% increase, and then some employees, depending on the market for their particular job title, it'll be higher than that. So that's really great. And then one city entry wage is going to be $17.50. That's for part-time, full-time, temp, city temps, seasonal. So if you know anybody who needs a summer job or something next year, that's a great entry wage. And then last improvement that I'll mention is for folks who were hired. So there's sort of this cutoff of when you were hired of 2009. And for a long time, there was a pretty good benefit to you if you were hired before then, but not a lot had changed for folks hired after that. There was a 20% reduction in the benefit cost for folks hired after 2009. So that's also significant because that definitely leaves more money in your pocket. So I think I hit all the high points, but just correct me if there's anything I missed.
I think, I didn't even remember if we met, so you obviously did fantastic. I just want to reiterate, I really appreciate everyone's support, not only Kathy, you and the staff, but also fellow trustees who are out there always kind of knocking on doors and having those good but awkward conversations when we need them to get the budget support. I think we fared very well considering the, everything that patrons and city residents are looking for from the city manager and from your staff. I think we did really well, so thank you to everyone. And I'm just so happy, not only for library employees, but for all city employees to have like a real living wage and to like know that they don't have to job hop to get compensated. That's the kind of culture we want to create in the city, is like stay, keep your expertise here, and you'll be compensated. So I think that's fantastic. So please share that with the city manager as well, if it's relevant for you to do so, David, because I think it goes far for satisfaction. Thank you. Yeah.
On then, thank you, Kathy. To number 8, report from the Facilities Committee.
The Facilities Committee did not meet.
Okay. Number 9, report from the Naming Committee.
Last time we had a board meeting, we did vote that we could have a second community input meeting over at Thousand Oaks Library, and Dale would like to talk to y'all about that, make an announcement about it. He's been working on it.
Oh, this Dale.
Yes.
Yes, just to conclude.
Not Dale Rogers.
What we discussed, what the naming committee discussed, the public meeting of the naming committee will be on Saturday, December 3rd at the Thousand Oaks Library, which seems like an awfully long time away. However, it's literally the first day that Thousand Oaks Meeting Room is available, which I think says such good things about the library. The Friends are having a book sale, we're having voting, so the things that are happening there are, important things in the community. So that's when it will be. I've been in contact with Mr. Lorton to make sure it's a day that he will be available. We wanted to be sure that we didn't plan a meeting, to discuss naming the room in memory of his mother when he wouldn't be available. So I wanted to just share that information with you.
Moving on to item number 10, report from the Public Relations Committee. He's not here, but effectively did not meet. Item number 11, report from the Nominating Committee.
So we met on August 5th, August 17th, and September 7th. We had a lot of late meetings. There is an action item on today's agenda related to the outcome of the committee meetings.
Board Policy Committee, which did not meet. And next to San Antonio Library Foundation. Hello, Amy. Look very rested. Have anything big coming up or anything? Or?
You're lucky I made it here. I wasn't even sure it was Wednesday most of the day today. So in addition to Katrina Ball, which I'll talk about in a second, next Tuesday we launch this year's 6 pilot programs with our literacy caravans. So we're starting on the east side with the Compass Rose Journey campus. And we are very excited about this year. We're focusing on, as I've mentioned before, focusing on second graders, trying to get data that we can use to increase that program through grant funding. So that's really what we're going to concentrate on this year, is getting some good data about the program and then expanding it from there. Our Born to Read program, we've just added a pediatric cardiologist to our board of directors, and she is just going gangbusters getting the hospitals back engaged with the Born to Read program. So we should be able to hit what we used to do with that program, which is giving away 15,000 books a year. So that should not take us very long to ramp up now that we have her on board, and she's a firecracker. We are also in our budgeting process, and just so you know, at our October Executive Committee meeting, which is in just a couple of weeks, we will be voting on our annual gift to the library. Our endowment investments are down, as everyone's investments are down, but we will be just sending as much as we can the library's way, and so at the next meeting I'll have an announcement about that vote. We are waiting until the very last minute to calculate that gift, because we calculate it based off 5% of the total value of the endowment, and so we're kind of watching the market, waiting for a day when it's a little bit better than others, so we can give you all as much as possible. No, we're just keeping an eye on it. We're keeping an eye on it. So the Katrina Ball obviously is coming up. We're 3.5 weeks away. We hope to see everybody there. I was telling Ramiro before the meeting started, and I have a flyer if any of you want to see it afterwards. We just confirmed a donation from our most favorite travel agency of a trip for 2 to Greece. It's about $11,000 to $12,000 value. We are going to raffle that off. We're only going to print 200 tickets, and the tickets are going to be $100 a piece. So you've got a really good chance of winning a fabulous trip. It's a 10-day trip, guided, and you can pick one of 6 dates. He's taking groups of 16 to Greece on this same itinerary about 6 times next year. So it's going to be fabulous. And that's something that, you don't have to spend a ton of money in the auction. We did auction off a trip last year, and that's just not as exciting as a raffle. So that's what we'll be doing. And we hope to see, as I said, we hope to see everybody there. Are there any questions about Katrina Ball, about what we're doing, about whether or not I know it's Wednesday? No?
Deadlines, end of year deadlines, you've got Katrina Ball coming up. On some of the terraces, is that right?
Yes. Primarily on the 3rd floor, and the 2 terraces that are on the 3rd floor, and then the VIP area will be on the 4th floor terrace. So it's going to be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. This past month, the Arts and Letters Awards Committee met to make its selections for this year, and we were very pleased. We had over 20 nominations this year, and it was thrilling because we have revamped the program to where we have different categories. And this year, we actually had winners in every category. So it was thrilling. In our newest category called the Rising Star, it recognizes artists under the age of 21. And this year's winner is Matthew Martinez, and he is a graphic artist. He's a student at Warren High School, but he also volunteers at his local library. So it's a great connection there to see that. For our education, our winner this year is Ashley Mireles. She is an artist and educator. She's an artist in residence with the San Antonio Area Foundation. So she worked with students at Lanier in teaching them different types of art and putting on some wonderful programs with them. Our legacy winner was Susan Toomey Frost. Many of you may know her because she is a preservationist and historian. She specializes in saving old tiles, and she was responsible for a lot of the work at the land preservation efforts on the fountain. And then we had two winners in the merit category. Jenny Lawson, who some of you know, as she's a well-known author, and she is the owner of the Nowhere Bookshop here in San Antonio, and she was very involved in this year's book festival, so we're thrilled to recognize her. And the last one is Chibi Ordoño, and he is a poet, an author, and he works with youth also in organizing poetry events. So we're thrilled with these 5 outstanding winners. And to remind you all that the event will be on November 13th at Mission Library. That's Sunday, and it'll be at 2 p.m., and we hope you can make it because this is our 50th year to give out these awards. So it's an important milestone for our artists and for our library system. We are also starting our membership drive, which will be kicking off mid-October. So if you don't want to wait for your letter, you can renew. You can go online, and you'll be taken care of. And then also, our nominating committee is meeting to prepare the slate for next year's board of directors. So if you know any active volunteers in the Friends or in their local library, let me know, and we'd be happy to contact them, see if they'd be up for service on the board. So that is where we are with the Friends. Any questions? Great. Thank you all.
I would just like to say that last year the Arts and Letters Awards ceremony was lovely, lovely. The food was fabulous. I was really so impressed, and they had these wonderful drinks. I don't even know what you call them, but they were good.
We're having drinks again, so we're set on that.
Okay, okay. But they made me a happy person, so, but it was just lovely, and Mission Library is so nice because you can just stand out on the patio and see Mission right there. It's just really nice.
Crossing our fingers for good weather. That's it.
Hello again. So it's my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Haley Holmes. You may know her from around the library system. Haley is basically going through every possible job that you can have at the library. So she has moved up the ranks. Now she has taken on being our interim library services administrator. When Ron Susik left, Haley stepped up and took on that role. She's doing a fantastic job, and she's going to share with you some information tonight about a change in our apps so that you're aware of this change and how we're making the community aware. So with that, I'll turn it over to Haley.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening. The title of this presentation is Sunset of the Overdrive app, but we thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about all of the apps that the library has at the moment and to introduce to you a couple of new services that we're going to be rolling out. So the library has several downloadable apps that makes accessing our books and materials and general information about the library easier on mobile devices for our patrons. And I'm sure most of you are aware of our SAPL app. So that is the main app that's used to look at our catalog and also to look up general information like directions to a branch, also how to check your account to see what you have currently out, to place holds, to see if your holds are ready for you. So this app has basically a dashboard, and you can see in the picture here at the top where it shows you how many items you have checked out, how many are ready for pickup, and so on. Also within this app, there are other items such as staff recommendations that you can access. So this is our main app. Next slide, please. But we also have a few others, including Libby. Libby is provided by Overdrive, which includes all things electronic, so downloadable books, audiobooks, magazines, and videos. It also has staff curated guides and suggested materials. It's a little bit hard to see, but we have almost 400,000 items available through Libby. And Since I made this slide, it has become obsolete. So on there, I had that our highest single-day checkout was September 6th, but on September 26th, just 2 days ago, we reached 9,579 checkouts in one day. And I know you're aware that during the pandemic, electronic resources became more of interest to our patrons, and that has continued to move upwards. The Sora app is also through Overdrive, and this is related to the Public Library Connect program that allows schools and public libraries to interact. So almost every school district in San Antonio has access to this app, and students at local schools are able to check out public library materials using that app. And it is very well used. An average day sees about 600 checkouts from our collection through Sora. Thank you. So big news, which is kind of old news, is that the Overdrive app is being discontinued. It's a little confusing because Overdrive is the company, but the original app that they came out with for checking out digital materials was called the Overdrive app. Then they came out with the Libby app. So since the beginning of this year, the Overdrive app has been discontinued in the app stores. So people have not been able to download that particular app for almost a year. And at the end of this year, it will be completely gone and people won't be able to use it anymore. They made this decision because they created Libby. It's a more robust app and it has more functionality, so they now just want to support that app and not the legacy app. And we want to make sure that our patrons are aware that this is happening so that they're not surprised. Overdrive has been doing a lot of messaging since the beginning of the year through the app. So if you log into the Overdrive app, they have a message there that says this is being discontinued, and that's been there for quite some time. We have also been supplementing that communication with our own communication to our users. We're able to target people who have been active in the Overdrive app over the last year. And our communications department has launched a 6-part campaign to make sure that those patrons are aware that they need to transition to Libby by the end of this year. And they have been sending out monthly emails to that effect. We're also simultaneously promoting Libby as the library's preferred digital materials app. So we're taking a several-pronged approach to this to make sure that everyone gets the message. We are able to follow checkout trends, so we know exactly how many people and how many checkouts are still happening through the old app, and those numbers continue to decline. So we still have a few people who are using it, but we check it every month, and every month the number of people using the Overdrive app goes down, the number of people using the Libby app goes up, so that's positive. Once users download the Libby app, all they have to do is input their library card number, and all of their information from the Overdrive app is transferred to Libby. So there's nothing that they have to do. They don't have to come into the library or anything for that to happen. So all of their checkouts, their holds, anything that they had current in Overdrive is transferred to Libby. Overdrive has also decided to end what they called Overdrive videos. So there were streaming movies through Overdrive, electronic streaming movies, and they have been removed from our catalog as of September 1st. The circulation of those videos was very minimal. They weren't really super popular movies, so we didn't see a lot of activity on those. But what they have offered us is a canopy. So this is an additional app that our patrons now have access to. We internally keep calling it Canopy Lite. That's why I hesitated, because it's not the full Canopy app that you would get if you were paying for it. So what they're doing is giving us this app for 1 year for free. And it has 250 high circulating videos for streaming. It also has full access to Canopy Kids, which is over 2,500 videos, content that's aimed towards 2 to 8-year-olds with a focus on early literacy and STEM. What's great about these videos is that they're simultaneous, unlimited use. So people can have as many checked out as they want at a time, and multiple people can watch them at the same time. We already have the records for these videos in our catalog, so you can find them that way. And the first time you use this app, you do have to create a login with your SAPL card number. Some of the other advantages of Canopy over the old Overdrive videos are that the Overdrive videos had limited methods of streaming, whereas Canopy can be watched through the app online, but also with the Canopy TV app. So if you have a smart TV that has apps on it, you can log in there and watch these videos on your television. And so that's really bringing the library into people's living rooms, which is exciting. And this is also available through Libby. So if you log in to, and I don't know that it's there yet, but we've been promised that you log into Libby and you're gonna see all of the Canopy content as well. So it's integrated there. And we believe that the customer service will be improved. And I'm thinking of this as a pilot, so we'll see how it goes, how many people use it, and then we'll think about investing in the Canopy app in the future with more content. So the communication plan for Canopy, I wasn't quite there yet, is coming out during the month of October. And of course, we'll have our usual comprehensive plan that our communications department does, including direct messaging to Overdrive users who had been using those previous streaming videos. We're gonna have some paid ads on Facebook to drive people to using the Canopy app, put this on our mysapl.org page, messaging on the Overdrive site itself, digital displays in our branches, inclusion in newsletters, et cetera, all the things that we normally do when we want to make sure everyone's aware of a new service. And of course, flyers as well. Okay, thank you. So an exciting announcement is we have had a lot of patrons asking for this, and we are going to be rolling out soon text messaging notices. So right now, you can find out that you have materials ready for pickup through email or through phone messages, and we're going to be adding the text message option. So you can get a message when your items are almost due or when your things are ready for pickup. And I think this is exciting. I enjoy text messages more than phone calls. That's my choice of communication. There are some limitations, of course, because text messaging is limited in the characters. So when we roll this out to patrons, we're going to train our staff to make sure that they're explaining to our patrons that when they choose text messaging, that means that they won't receive emails or phone calls. So it is a choice. What is your preference of these types of communication? And that the message will not give you specific information like the title of a book. And that's true of our phone system as well. So a patron would just need to make the choice. Would they like more information? Then they'll get an email. If they're okay with just knowing I have a book ready, they may choose text. And of course, at any time, they could go back. So we want to make sure they're aware if they want to change to text and then they decide, well, this doesn't give me all the information I want, then we can change it back to email or phone for them. We're going to roll this out first to people who are getting brand new cards. So when they come into the branch, we'll ask, what kind of notification would you like? Here are the options, and this is what it means for each of these options. And then we will offer this to current users. So would you like to change how you're receiving your notifications? And again, we'll have a comprehensive communication plan. We're currently preparing to train staff because there is some interaction that needs to happen with the patron to make sure they understand the differences and they are making a choice. And we'll have on-site signage, including shelf hangers at all locations. We'll do posts to social media, have a special bookmark about this service, and all the other things that we usually do. So as I conclude, I do want to recognize our coordinators of digital services, collection development, and access services, as well as communications and their staff members, because it takes a lot of people to make all of these apps work, to work with our catalog, and to make sure our patrons have the most up-to-date information on what we have available. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great update, excited to be moving on to their, great that everyone comments on it. It's helping go. I'm just curious if anyone else has any questions?
So I downloaded the Libby app, and so there's an option that says register with your library card, or it says give instant card to your phone number is eligible. Is that something that people do?
Yes, yes. So there are two different ways to get access to Libby, and those are the two. So if you already have a library card, then you can connect it there. If you don't want to, or you don't have the time to come in, you can get a card by using your phone number. The only limitation of that is that the card will expire in 5 years, and it will not let you renew that card or make another card with your phone number. So at that point, we would ask patrons to come in and get a library card. But it's just sort of a convenient way to get access quickly. They can call any location. Our reference staff are well-versed in the different ways to access our information, our materials, but we are going to do some additional training just to make sure that they're ready for the additional calls they may receive. But you can call any location.
But I did want to share, Judy, that your last question, I asked a question of support in the Libby app earlier today and got an answer within 10 minutes. So it was pretty fast within the app. Like someone from Libby must have answered it. I put like a help desk ticket in to ask a question, and it was really fast. I was actually really impressed. I have a couple questions. So is Canopy an app that's created by Overdrive, or is it something that they're using to bridge their movie content streaming service?
They actually purchased Canopy, now I remember, that it used to be a separate company, and they recently took over Canopy, the company.
And are you, you mentioned that you were going to treat Canopy Light as a pilot program. Is that because you want to see if there's interest in it, or is there some, what would be the reason to test it out? Because it sounds like it's limited in terms of what is offered.
Content is very limited. As with all digital materials, they are more expensive than print materials. And we did have streaming videos in the past, and it did eat up a lot of our budget. Because if we had the regular Canopy service, it would not be simultaneous use and unlimited checkout. We would have to decide how many materials could somebody check out a month, because you have to pay each time somebody checks out and uses that item. So I think we want to see what the interest is, and then we can decide how much of our budget could we put towards that service.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that because additional programs obviously take more resources and campaign focus from a communication standard. So I was just wondering like what the benefits would be for that. And then my last question is, as part of the communication that the Overdrive app is doing and that you and the communications team are doing to get people to move from Overdrive to Libby, or maybe to stop using Overdrive and just use Libby, are you also targeting like every branch and doing something there? Because it seems like it would be a great time to get Libby even if you weren't using Overdrive.
So there's a campaign happening at the same time to promote Libby as there is to make sure people know that Overdrive is going away. So the campaign to promote Libby is system-wide, whereas the campaign to make sure people know about Overdrive going away is targeted towards the users that are still using that.
And then last question, this picture that you have, is it truly text message, or is the text related to something that the Overdrive company is offering, or is this something
This
different?
is totally different. This is a functionality of our new ILS Symphony that we didn't have with the old ILS Millennium.
Okay, so, and I can save this question for after too, but I'm curious, like, is this what the text will look like? It'll have my SAPL in there, or is this just like a slide that you created to get, so that we could like understand?
Yes, I hope Scott isn't upset. I created this graphic myself, just so there would be something on the screen to show you.
Okay, so it's not like, it's not branded, it's not a
Not
branded.
yet, but they are working on that, definitely.
Okay, cool, thank you. I was just curious, I'm like,
So I'm slightly, this is going to sound negative, I'm slightly concerned about the people still using Overdrive, that the last day comes up, the last minute. Should I be concerned about that? What, is there a plan for them? I hate for them to be frustrated. I certainly, everyone's going to say, well, gee, Paul, how many more times can we tell them? I get all that. I deal with clients in the same type of thing, but
Just don't want to let go of something that they're used to. So I hope that all of the different means of communication, that eventually they may listen, and maybe appealing to them and saying that staff are here to help. So please come in and we'll show you how to use Libby if you're needing that.
date, you're not going to be able, I will go to the last date. So maybe, hopefully, that's what they're doing. But great. Well, I know, transitioning like that is tough. These sunset periods are tough. So congratulations to the team. I'm sure it'll go well. So, any other questions for Dr. Holmes?
Is there a way to get to the Libby app from the SAPL app, from the MySAPL? That's a good question. I know there's like a link to the SAPL site and to Twitter. That might be a cool thing to add, either open the app or take you to the app listing, app store listing.
I'll have to check. I'm not 100%. Like,
question about, was that about the SAPL app?
yes.
This is a conversation with communications. I am sorry.
This is Adam Spana. He's our digital services coordinator.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll try to address that question for you. So within the MySAPL app, these are a lot of third parties. The MySAPL app, there is some space in there for some custom text. If you look in the MySAPL app, you'll see at the bottom of the homepage 6 URLs. We control what those URLs are. Right now, they're pre-configured with links to social media sites for the library. But because they're within our control, this is an opportunity, and we always have this, to determine and there's only 6 of them, so it's very precious space. But as we onboard these new services, we can make that determination of, how to.
I think that would make it easy for someone like me that's just used to starting at the MySAPL app.
Yes.
To like use it as a launchpad and go with other things.
That is a terrific suggestion, and we'll take it back to communications. Yeah.
Thank you.
It does talk to Libby though, because I put a poll on Libby, Amy doesn't like me, I put a poll for book club, and it's showing up in my SAPL app. Yeah, it's connected to your library card.
Thank you.
Item number 16, an update regarding the library's community needs assessment. Very anxious for this.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica Zarita, and I will share with you a report on the library strategic plan and our community needs assessment. Joining me this afternoon, we have Sandy Swanson and Hilda Runhell, who are here with us from our consultant partners, Orange Boy. So they will be joining in this presentation as well. As you know, the San Antonio Public Library is no stranger to strategic planning. The library understands the value of providing services and resources which are guided and informed by a plan which is updated routinely. To this end, the library engaged with our consultants, launched a community needs assessment in 2019, we actually started in 2018 and started data collection in 2019. And of course, we start our strategic planning process with our community needs assessment to gather data to inform that planning process. So this slide gives you an overview of our timeline for gathering data. Our community needs assessment really started pre-pandemic, and our data collection was then paused during the height of the pandemic. And looking back, it is very apparent that it was the right decision for us to pause data collection. As you know, during the pandemic, we underwent immense changes. Habits changed, routines adjusted, attitudes, priorities shifted, and business models evolved. So had we continued as we had originally scheduled, our data would have been outdated by the time we started the strategic plan. So our pause was very strategic. So in late 2021, but in earnest 2022, our data collection resumed, and we are now on track to finish our community needs assessment in October next month, October 2022. Looking at the next slide, we have our data collection methods. And so, as you know, the library routinely collects data about how our services are used. Our key performance metrics are door counts or visits, circulation, and use of technology. As you know, we track our data down by the library location. And we, of course, understand that our usage data alone, although it is very informative, is not enough for us to base our strategic plan on. So with our consulting partners, Orange Boy, we launched on a series of tactics to go into our communities and listen and learn about their thoughts and ideas about the library. It's important to note that each tactic that we undertook was offered in both English and Spanish. We had an emphasis on collecting a representative sample. That was very core to our plan for data collection. For example, our targeted block walking was undertaken at a point of the data collection when we saw that some neighborhoods were underrepresented in the data samples. So we went door to door with our consulting team and our library staff and knocked on doors in areas of 5 distinct communities in San Antonio that were underrepresented. And this was a very strategic and important tactic that we undertook. Looking on to the next slide, our desired outcome for our community needs assessment is for our consultants, Orange Boy, to develop customer stories that personify critical needs in our community. Each story will have an estimated population and a geographic area. And so the stories will be the basis upon which our strategic plan will be built upon. And Sandy and Hilda will next talk to you about the outcome of the community needs assessment to date. We are conducting focus groups this week and next week, so we are just at the cusp of being absolutely final with it. But I will turn the presentation over to Hilda and Sandy.
I guess I'm too short for this. Thank you, everyone, and it's great to, I guess, be back. I was here right at the precipice of when all travel and the world kind of paused and stopped to meet with you in March of 2020, actually. As Jessica said, some of the data collection started in 2019, but we met and had a conversation as a board in 2020, of March, actually late February 2020, and a couple of things that we noted that you all were looking to the library of the future and some of the needs of the community is that creating these authentic experiences and creating a distribution network. So really the library is more than just those physical locations. Civic engagement was also identified as something very critical in providing an avenue to have discourse. Integrative integrative literacy, so linking languages, the written word, math, machine languages, and community empowerment, so bonding individuals together to create stronger neighborhoods. So if we go to the next slide. So that was really a preview or purview into doing a lot of the direct needs assessment and getting feedback from your users and from the community. And what we saw, and what you're seeing tonight is obviously not even a glimpse, it's really more of a flicker of the data. We don't have time to present all the data, and happy to have more deep conversations about numbers and all of that. But what we're trying to share tonight are some takeaways and how we see the data, kind of what were some of the trends and what the community really wants from the library. So one of the things we saw was that really library users, regardless of the type or how they're using the library, really kind of were of the same mind of some of these ideas the board had shared. And they really view learning experiences as one of the library's critical offerings. And you'll see this come up a couple of times in several other examples. And this was really amplified by those who took the survey, took the cardholder survey in Spanish or had some of those interactions in the Spanish language. And really saw an opportunity among this user group to develop new skills, and that was something that was very important that they saw the library being able to offer. When we interviewed or had a chance to get information from non-users, their kind of view of things were slightly different, and we'll share just a few highlights from the non-users. And then the block walking really identified children's programs as paramount. So if we go to the next slide. So I'm going to turn it over to Hilda to share just some snippets from some of the research, but we're kind of starting that conversation by talking about My Perfect Library. When we organized the data, particularly, well, in a variety of ways, we looked at the data. We tried to look at things geographically, by by behavior, by demographics, different ways that we can view the community. But one of the ways that, and I think we've probably shared this, and I know we've had a lot of conversations with the library staff about some interesting nuances among, if we look at it by council district. And Hilda will share some results looking at the survey data by council district and how people identify their perfect library and what some of those nuances are. And you'll see the groupings. We have three essential groupings of the council districts. District 1 is sort of an island unto itself. It sort of has a unique perspective of, really kind of people at both ends of the spectrum, kind of socioeconomically challenged and also very affluent and high education. So they kind of fell into a group by themselves. And then we had the districts in more of the southern and the western part of your service area kind of grouped together. And primarily that was driven where we saw, generally speaking, in those districts, lower participation with the library, and also in some cases higher diversity and higher socioeconomic challenges. And then in the districts 7 through 10, we grouped those districts together because they had some shared experience as well. So I will turn it over to Hilda.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with all of you and share some of the results that we have gathered from different data collections, different channels, different areas. As Jessica mentioned, we aim to bring the sample as complete as possible. While some of the challenges on collecting data were high, also were very rewarding because that allowed us to have more context about those areas where the library has a greater opportunity for engagement and for serving the community as they need. So as Sandy mentioned, we have the representation of My Perfect Library represented for District 1. They highlight the educational viewpoint as a priority. This means they are skewed towards classes, workshop, and development of skills in this area. Next slide, please. While they share similarities and districts represented by District 2 to 6, they also see education as a really important priority for the library, but they also focus on educational resources for childhood and teen programs. District 2 and 6 also skews to these workshops and prioritize digital materials. For our last segment of grouping, we have District 7 to 10. The library is represented by the perfect library represented by these districts. In comparison of the other two groupings, they focus more on digital access. So this is the areas that are more affluent, where educational attainment is higher. So they grew up going to the libraries for, then they want their kids to be at the library, and also they are thinking about convenience. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit further. When we talk about our non-user survey, we generated around 416 responses in English and Spanish, and their surveys were collected in May and generated several insights. And as we identified above, the question of what prevents them from using the library was important to us because we want to get a better understanding why these people is not using the library. So I'm going to share the next slide. It's some of the answers that we get from the non-user panel survey. As you can see, health COVID concerns ranked number 1. And while this started as a concern to be in a public space, as we have heard during the meeting, it stays because the behavior changed for all of us. Think about what are you doing now. Like a lot of people is just streaming services, movies, instead of going to the movie theater. It's more convenient for us ordering groceries, the shopping or curbside services that are here to stay. Other people is just saying the same thing, I cannot get to the library, but maybe it's again about convenience of just getting things from other delivery services, so they don't see the need for the library if they have like Amazon Prime accounts or other services that they, obviously sometimes they don't know that the library offers. They prefer to purchase other books and other media and other ways. So those are some of the examples that I wanted to share with you, but I want to emphasize in the first one because, as I mentioned, something that could have started as a health concern, it changed the behavior in our communities.
Can I ask a question? The non-user survey is also included in the 416 emails, or was that?
We have a survey that we sent out to specific areas where we identified that people weren't using the library. So we have a system, very easy system, like, do you have a library card? If they respond yes, we will say, thank you very much. So we will take the answers from people who doesn't have a library card. And we have 416 responses from that.
416 total?
Yes.
And then the non-user insights you're sharing are included in the 416?
Yes.
And do you have a breakdown? Is it like 50-50?
So you have the.
I don't have the exact number of the cardholder survey, but it was tens of thousands of responses and very, very inclusive. We did 3 series of the email invitations and had really good participation. The non-user survey is executed through our survey partner, and they kind of make that survey available to people in your community that want to participate in these kinds of things. And that is the sample that they collected is census balanced, so it does reflect, you know, what the community looks like. But I'm not sure if that answered your question.
I wasn't clear, like, what is the 416? Is that non-users? Is that total?
The 416 is non-users. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember the exact number. But we had, I want to say,
Probably 12,000.
12 to 13,000
cardholders.
cardholder survey responses. Mhm.
Thank you, Sandy. Yes, thank you. Yeah, just a clarification. This is, we have a user survey, cardholder survey. So that's the first graph that we showed. Those are the results from that survey. The non-user survey is different, and then we have some intercept surveys at the library branches that I was looking at my calendar, and it was 1 year ago. And then the blog walking findings, as Jessica mentioned, once we collect all those data and we identify that there were some areas that weren't represented as we wanted to be represented in this data sample, we added the blog walking, which was basically go to the neighborhoods with low representation, knock on the door, and ask the same questions that we have for the non-user survey. So for this one, as I mentioned, anecdotally, it was a great experience because this added a layer of context from the data sample that we have from the other sources of data, from the other channels that we use to collect data. And for example, I encountered myself talking anecdotally with people the age around 16, 17 years old that they have lived in the San Antonio area for 30 plus years. And while they see the library as a great resource for the community and as a great resource to provide educational materials and resources for children, they don't see themselves going to the library. So they don't see a space for them at the libraries. They think the libraries are for kids, and for some reason, they just think they are the greatest thing for the community, but they don't go and don't see themselves going to the library. Other interesting thing that we identified during the blog walking is concern about childhood and teens, meaning they wanted to have safe spaces for their kids to grow up. Safe spaces where they can share, where they can have interesting activities, and where they can have like other ways to be involved with the community that doesn't represent a risk for them. If you don't have any questions, I'm gonna pass it on to Sandy.
Just to kind of summarize some of the implications that we're seeing from the data is, one is really, again, a concept that I felt was evident when we met with the board 2.5 years ago, this idea that what's happening inside libraries is changing, and the more transactional kinds of things, and we see this, you heard a presentation about your digital services. We see the importance of digital services in, in what people are wanting from the library, but those things are happening outside of the library more and more. But what people are seeing is that things that are taking place in libraries, those high-value experiences, is really shifting the model for how we think about, public libraries. And likewise, really, people see the library as a community anchor, one providing a variety of services that are greatly needed. And again, this really takes the library beyond more of a traditional library model. And we definitely also saw the importance of those facilities and potentially new or, facilities that people, want to go to participate in are important to people. Also, another thought is that the idea of a strong brand identity is really important to kind of punch through to some of the new audiences. So you have a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity to grow your library community, but really presenting that as a way of, here is our brand, here's what we bring to the community, and some of those elements will really be brought forth, in the actual planning part of the work. The needs have been identified. So if we go to the next slide. So we also see really an opportunity to participate in, some very proactive marketing campaigns to capture new users and to really get the word out about the library and all the resources, that you do offer. And our final thought to share for this evening is really the idea of really capturing the parents. So we know those relationships and the connection with children is very important, but being able to make some of those connections with the parents and caregivers is really going to be critical, especially when people are seeing that maybe they don't see the library as something for them. But how do you make those connections? How do you want their children, to have their children get library cards and participate, because really kind of long-term, that provides, those customers for life. So if someone's not using the library today, there's a less likelihood that they will use library services as they get older. And with that, I will turn it back over to Jessica to share some final thoughts.
Thank you, Sandy. And so to conclude, our next steps for our strategic planning effort is we're going to have our outcome of the community needs assessment. As I mentioned previously, we are hosting focus groups tomorrow and next week to validate some of the data and get feedback from the community. We're hosting 1 in Spanish and 3 in English. We are also going to be finalizing the community needs assessment and start working on our strategic plan. We will most definitely have community input as well, or community feedback, to share the progress as we continue, just to ensure that we continue to be on the right track with our data and the information that we have. And then we will be finalizing the strategic plan and launching a communication effort that is going to be very robust, something that you've never seen from your library system before, that will educate the community about our strategic plan, but also share information about the library system, hope to attract new users, and just really launch a very robust communication effort that then will be sustainable, so that it's a new standard for your library system. And we are available if you have any questions.
I heard you say you're going to have 3 focus groups, and where are those groups?
Tomorrow, we will have an in-person at the Mission Library. We will have a virtual at the Carver Branch Library, a virtual at the Cody Branch Library, and a virtual at the Bazan Branch Library. That one will be in Spanish. And what we did is we reached out to the branch managers and their staff to help us identify folks in their community that could participate in those focus groups, and invitations have been sent out. And we're hoping to have 10 to 12 members participate in all of those.
Thank you.
The non-users that you guys used, or that you surveyed, were they from all of the districts, or were they just from a few?
It was from citywide.
Okay.
And so the team kept a focus on where folks were coming from to make sure that it was representative. Every sample that they took, every measure was with very focused attention to be sure it was representative of the community. Yes, and that's going to be to help us look at the stories and the data to validate, just to give us additional feedback on what the findings that have come out thus far.
When we saw so much interest in programs and workshops, I think the focus groups and several other questions as well, but primarily, being able to kind of probe a little bit and delve deeper. So when people are saying they want more educational classes, workshops, what ideas do they have? What kinds of things do they want to see from the library? And, that's going to be really important because, a survey can only kind of give us glimmers of what people are thinking, but, how can this work inform, the program teams, at these libraries so that they can continue to develop out their offerings, and make them relevant for the communities that they each serve.
I have a question, and I don't even know if it's a question or just kind of a thought bubble. In the survey, was there any question asking about the length of time in their district?
A question about how long people have lived, in their community, and I don't remember what the results were, but I know, as Hilda kind of referenced, in just doing the block walking, for example, a lot of those people have lived there for a long, long time.
Ask that because I think about my district in particular. I happen to still live in the district that I grew up in, just moved, a few blocks down. And I think about the people that I went to school with, and a lot of them have moved up to District 7, District 8, District 9, 10. And I just wonder if the values that were instilled in them 30 years ago, they've taken now to their districts, and that's why some of the results are the way. I mean, that's like probably a whole nother study data thing, but it just made me wonder. Thank you.
Insights that we gain from this, I think, will lead to further queries, further lines of, further threads to pull on to see, what's there, which I think is great. Any other questions? I mean, I'm anxious for next steps to see how this progresses, right? I mean, this type of data does no good sitting on a shelf, and we don't have any intention of letting it sit on a shelf, right? It's going to spawn kind of a life of its own, which I'm really anxious and excited about. Anything else? All right. Thank you all very much. Good stuff. We will move on to item number 17, review and consider approval of the proposed library board trustees meeting schedule for fiscal year 2023. This is an action item.
Microphone. All right, in your packet you have, and on the screen, you see the proposed meeting schedule for the Library Board of Trustees for fiscal year 2023. This schedule is being proposed by library staff after getting feedback from our chair and vice chair. It was determined that it is now time to try for the board to have a presence in branch libraries. As you know, we've been meeting physically at the Central Library for about a year, and prior to that, when we were in the pandemic, most of the meetings were virtual. So we've gone through this progressive virtual, semi-virtual, and now in-person meetings. And so with the new fiscal year, we're looking at having the board meet at branch libraries. So that in order to develop this proposed meeting schedule, library staff looked at different factors. We looked at when was the last time the board met at a certain branch. So we wanted to, part of the objective is to provide some parity or diversity in terms of the board having a presence in various communities. We also took into consideration any planned capital improvement projects that would not allow the board to meet in the meeting room. HVAC systems, for example. We took into consideration voting periods. All of those factors were taken into consideration to come to this proposed plan that is in front of you. So, as you can see, our next meeting will be at Central, which is the October meeting. And then, as you know, November, the Library Board of Trustees does not meet. The December 7 meeting has traditionally, and I wanted to discuss this with you because historically and traditionally, the December board meeting, which is also the opportunity for the board to celebrate the holidays, have been at the Central Library. It doesn't have to be at the Central Library. The Central Library has been pretty convenient in hosting, again, a holiday event. So we kept it at that, but we discussed possibly, well, should we propose going to a branch? We did not. So the first branch visit would be in January, Schaefer Branch Library. The board has not met there, ever. Then come back to Central. Then March would be in Memorial in a brand new, well, to me it's brand new, transformed library. Then back at Central for the April board meeting. Then the May board meeting, we would go to the Carver Branch Library. The last time the board met there at the Carver was February 2016. Then for the June meeting, the board would come back to the Central Library. Then for the July board meeting, it's the Parman Library. The last time the board met at the Parman Library was January 2015. And then August and September, traditionally, by the way, the September meeting, which is your annual meeting, traditionally has been at the Central Library. So I kept that at that. Again, this schedule is proposed for your consideration and deliberation, and it is an action item.
I can't believe that it's been 10 years since we were in Memorial. I remember that meeting. Time shows how time flies, right? But I certainly felt, personally, it was just important for us to get to these libraries, right? I think when we do that, it's kind of like a field trip. And the excitement of a field trip is also, I think, reflected in the staff of that branch, getting a chance to kind of show off, hey, they're all here, look at what we're doing. And they put together their presentations, and it's always been very positive. And so I made a comment to Romero. I was like, gosh, it seems like we're just now getting back to meeting, and now we're going to start meeting in different areas. But I think it's important. I felt that the timing was good, but I did want y'all's feedback to see how y'all felt about it, and see if this is something we want to move forward with, or if we want to introduce other ideas. So, interested in any comments or questions or support?
I am supportive. I totally agree. It's great to meet the staff. And as we see in the director's report each month, each library location has its own personality of how they, library. So I think it's great for us to see that and get a little closer to that. I wonder if the December meeting should be here. I think it's convenience for the staff, but if it will still be under construction, maybe it's more convenient not to be here. I don't know. I'm curious about that. I'll just throw that out as an idea, especially after Kathy shared with us that some of the larger meeting rooms are available in other branch locations. So.
We're thinking, and we haven't really done a lot of conversations, but obviously the auditorium is available. We've had it in the gallery. I don't think the gallery will be available. Again, I haven't had an extensive conversation with staff, but that's what we were thinking, auditorium. It is convenient to bring it centrally located, the holidays, bringing everything here. But the board does not have to meet here. So we discussed it, and I landed on, I think we should keep it here at the Central Library, or propose for it to be kept here at the Central Library.
Action item as well, right? So, we maybe could.
I'll just add that I'm glad y'all are having one at Memorial, and me and Richard will be there. I'm sure Richard will be excited for that.
No, I mean, Linda asked a good question, and I don't know if that means you're interested in making a motion, Linda, but you're saying we should have one, and I would agree. Okay, we have a motion to accept this schedule as is. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second from Andrea. So any discussion on the schedule as it is? Show up at the wrong, who would show up at Central thinking it's,
Myself driving here.
no one's done that.
Good point.
I'm getting back out more for work and thinking, yeah, well, I know how long it takes to get there, and then I'm like, no, I didn't. I forgot about that extra 15 minutes of stuff, so, anyway, but, yeah, that is a good, valid point for, more, little extra reminders. I know y'all will be on that. But they know each of our personalities and who needs more of a nudge than others, and we will appreciate that.
Well, I do appreciate that we're starting off in Schaefer. I think that library holds a place in all of our hearts. So.
I know where we're going to meet. Yep.
That'll be interesting for some people.
Any other comments, discussion before we vote? Okay, great. So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All those in favor of accepting the 2023 board meeting schedule as proposed, vote aye. 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 Any opposed? Great. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. I feel like we're going faster than I thought we were going to go. Now I feel guilty for telling y'all, keep your comments down to a minimum. And here goes Jeremy, and then Despret's got 37 questions, and it's like, oh my gosh. Our last item is item number 19, election of the San Antonio Public.
You're missing.
Did I did kick it off. I clicked it off too early. Yeah, we do have 18.
Yeah, there it is.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Flip it.
See, now we are going to run late. Review and consider approval of the proposed San Antonio Public Library's holiday and closure schedule for FY 2023. This is an action item as well. Of course it is.
Being Chair, Trustees, and Library Director. So for the last few years, it's been my pleasure to present the holiday schedule for you. It really is two things when you think about it. It's the holidays that our employees are paid, and from your perspective, and perhaps more importantly, it's the days that we're suggesting the library be closed. So we are presenting both things together, the holidays and the closure schedule. So you have it in your packet, and it's probably easier to read there than on the screen. So I'm going to start off by talking about something new we're doing in this coming year, and that is to propose for you some days that we would be closing a half day for staff development. So of course, in October, you've already approved closing for our staff day, but still it's a day that we're closed in this coming fiscal year. Then we have 3 additional days that we're planning, that we're suggesting to close. That would be in January the 27th, May the 5th, and August the 4th. And on those days, we would open to the public at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it would be open from 2 to 6. That would be a half day for staff training and development that would be done at the location. So it wouldn't be all the staff coming together. It would really give staff the opportunity for training that could be location-based. And of course, with the kind of technology we have now, we can also loop staff in virtually as well. So that's part of the closure schedule this year, are these 3 half days that we would close for staff training and development. So then, as we look at the holiday schedule, we are proposing, of course, a schedule that follows the city's holidays as best we can. The city's holiday schedule takes into account a Monday to Friday work week. So, of course, if we just followed that and didn't make any changes, we could find ourselves open on the actual holidays. So we do take those into account. So when we look at the actual holiday schedule, can you put that back on the screen, Edward? There we go. That's the sheet that you have in front of you, and this is what I really want to walk through in some detail with you. Every few years, and it's not that many, we have this situation where Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are both on the weekend. Now, since Paul said you're going faster, I'm going to add a little trivia for you. So that has happened in 2005, 2011, 2016, this year, and then it will happen next in 2023. So you won't have to worry about this for a while. Hopefully we're all here in 2023 to vote on that holiday schedule. 2033.
Oh, okay.
Did I say 23? 2033. 2033.
Wow.
See, I got, okay. 2016, 2022, 2033. Okay. So it's this year, but it won't happen again for a while. Now that presents us with a challenge because, of course, it's a city holiday for Christmas Eve. It's a city holiday for Christmas Day. So we don't want to require employees to work on those days. That's Saturday and Sunday. So the city is observing Christmas Eve on December 26th and Christmas Day on December 27th. So what we're proposing for your consideration, to keep the number of closed days as, about the same as it's been, this is one more closed day for holidays than we've had in the past. And that's why I'm spending time on this Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because that's where that extra day comes in. So what we're proposing, the rest of the days are pretty much the same as they normally are. I'll walk through a couple of them. But for the winter holiday, we're proposing closing on Christmas Eve, closing on Christmas Day. That would be Saturday and Sunday. Closing on the city's observed Christmas Eve. That would be Monday, the 26th. Then we would be open on the 27th. Now that is a city holiday, so our employees are compensated for working on a holiday. Salaried employees are compensated one way, hourly employees are compensated a different way, but they are compensated for working on the city holiday.
Which day is the holiday?
The 27th is Christmas Day. The city's observed Christmas Day, right? So we thought about being closed that day, but then that would be 2 more days closed to the public than we normally are in a year when we're also suggesting these half days of being closed for the staff training and development. So as we walk forward, look forward, then we're suggesting, of course, if Christmas Eve and Christmas Day fall on the weekend, we all know what's coming right after that, which will be New Year's Eve and New Year's Day will fall on those same 2 days as they do every year. So what we're suggesting is closing for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then there's a city observed holiday for New Year's Day. That would be on Monday, the 2nd. We're suggesting the library be open that day. And again, employees are appropriately compensated for working on the holiday, plus they're actually off on New Year's Day. Right. So this is something that you do every year as a trustees. The park department does something similar, and Human Services does something similar. The civilian employees that are open on the weekend have to look at the holidays a little bit differently than the other civilian employee departments do.
Go ahead,
no.
I was curious, like, are they somehow related to city holidays, or how
No.
were those dates selected?
No, so what we did is we started with the library staff day in October, and then we wanted them to be more or less quarterly. So we picked a day that would be like sort of exactly quarterly. Then we realized, oh, we're going to be closed like Martin Luther King Day and closed for an in-service in the same week. We didn't think that was the best customer service. So we adjusted the January one to not, so that that didn't happen. And then if we hadn't done that, we would have had one right at Easter time. So we changed that to May. So we did take into account holidays, but it's not to be near a city holiday, and rather it's to avoid closing 2 days in 1 week. I mean, not that the in-service is a whole day, but it is half a day that we'd be closed. So we did consider the holidays in that regard, to not have two closures in the same week. This year, the city did continue with the Cesar Chavez holiday, so that's March 31st. It fell during the week, so we didn't need to have to make any adjustments to it. As this board has done for many, many, many years, we're suggesting closing on Easter. That is not a city holiday. It's just a day we would be closed. So there's no staff pay for that day. And then, as has been done for a few years now, the city holidays this year do include Juneteenth as well, and that falls on a Monday, so we don't need to make any special consideration for Juneteenth, where last year, I believe, Juneteenth fell on the weekend, so we had to look at it a little differently. So those are the holidays and closure days that we're recommending as staff for your consideration. This is, of course, an action item for you to take action, but of course, I'm also happy to answer any questions you have about this schedule.
I have a question. I guess I'm a little confused by so I see this included in our packet, the holiday schedule that shows which hours are paid for the holidays for 2022. I don't think we have one for 2023, like the proposed one, but I guess I want to understand, Juneteenth 2022 was on a Sunday and there were 0 hours paid.
Right.
So how did these, so Juneteenth, Easter, New Year's Day, and Christmas Day, how does that work?
So this year, when Juneteenth fell like that, it will exactly relate to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day this coming year. Those will be 0 hours paid. That's because the library is just closed. It's not a paid holiday. So what we really realized is that part of it, how the exact compensation of the employees isn't the actual action, so that's when we didn't put it on here this year, but I'm certainly happy to talk about it. So then what happens is that on the observed holiday, so for the schedule you're looking at, December 26th, that is a holiday. So all of our full-time employees are paid 8 hours of holiday pay for that day. Then December 26th.
Bill, if a holiday falls on the weekend, the city doesn't pay the
Right,
holiday
there's no
rate.
paid holidays. The city has no paid holidays on Saturday and Sunday. So for us to close, we have to just we're just closing, rather than moving the holiday, which we really can't do. We can't just say, well, magically the holiday is on the weekend. Right, so that's the
I guess
zero.
that makes sense. I think it makes me think of the hourly employees then, so then they would just miss out on.
Okay, so it's 3 groups of employees. So salaried employees are compensated one way. Hourly employees, so they bank a holiday essentially, that they can take later in the year. Hourly employees that are full-time are compensated a different way. They bank a holiday and they get paid time and a half that day. So hourly employees, you know, the city really takes into account they're working on a holiday. However, part-time hourly paid employees and temporary employees do not receive holiday pay. Whether we're open or whether we're closed, it doesn't matter. They just don't receive pay for holidays, or they don't receive pay on days that we're closed. So hourly, part-time, or temporary employees don't receive holiday pay. And again, it doesn't matter, you know, if it's a city holiday or not a city holiday. What our managers do, though, is they work with those part-time and temporary employees to change their days off, look at days they're available to work. So we ask them to try to make sure that, you know, here it is right at the winter holidays. We don't want anyone losing money just because we're observing holidays. So what we try to do, what our managers try to do, is schedule those part-time employees to work as many hours as possible in their normal 19 hours that they work. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I think it's helpful to know that. I know that we're not voting on the hours they're being paid, but the holidays are impacting that. So,
Sure.
So it's definitely helpful to know that, because, I mean, even observing their, you know, whatever the status is, they're still people, right? And so I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that. And then for the staff in services, so they're 4-hour days at the branches spread out, you know, over these other 3 meetings. But I'm trying to think of how to word this question, but does it turn out to be effective, like, I guess, efficient to have the branch open for 4 hours? Is it more just about having the community have access to the space?
I think we were considering both things. So on the one hand, you know, we want to be open as much as possible, and that's definitely direction we've received from this board in the past, is to try to be open as much as possible. On the other hand, we feel that for these site, because I don't want to just say branches, because of course it applies here in this building too. For these work group trainings, we think that 4 hours really is sufficient. And we were thinking about different kinds of training that could be offered and so on. I mean, there's a lot to be said for a whole day, but I think we all know that planning a whole day of training takes a lot more thought and energy and expertise, really, than planning a 4 hours of training and, you know, group development. So it was really both things. It was being open to the public, and at the same time, it was really thinking about how can the staff get the most benefit from this idea that we put forward. And I really want to thank Ramiro for coming up with this idea, because I think it's really going to be a great thing for, assuming you all approve it, I think it's going to be a great thing for the staff and you know, really help them find some time for training. Something that we don't think about a lot is with the branch schedules and our staff schedules, pretty much when our staff are in the library's open. So there really isn't a lot of time even for them to have a meeting. So I think to have these, you know, 3 days in the year plus the big staff day, I think it has the opportunity to be a great opportunity for our staff and managers.
I think the only thing I'd ask or recommend or consider or ask the board to consider too is, if it's a 4-hour training and staff has basically a 1-hour lunch, mostly, I'm assuming, then that leaves them no time outside of their lunch to travel from wherever they're starting at to wherever they're going. And I know 30 minutes is only 30 minutes, but you know, some branches are 20 to 30 minutes away and some are 5 to 10 minutes away. So I think it'd be really great to consider the branches opening at 2:30 instead, or considering stopping the training at 3 hours and 30 minutes or something, just to.
So the idea of this is that the staff would be in their regular work location.
Oh, they're not coming
They're
together, other
not
than
all
for the
coming
staff day.
together. We're not renting a facility. We're not, it's none of that. The idea is for them to be in their regular work location. Now, certainly, if, I don't know, let's say Memorial and Las Palmas had a really fun idea to partner, and they wanted to do that and take the schedule into consideration, we'd certainly be open to that. But the basic idea, you know, is for them to already be in their work site, so they don't have to have travel from one location. Because otherwise, you're right, there's just no possible way to have 4 hours of training, an hour lunch, and then get back to work. You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
I was wondering if I was misunderstanding it when you went down that road, but yeah, this is at the branch that they're at, so. Great.
So is this the official document that's going to be put on?
So this document that you have here in front of you is what we would use for the public, you know, to show the closure days to the public.
Can we switch Fiesta, San Francisco Day, and the staff and service days just so chronologically?
Well, they should be switched. That was a test. No, that wasn't a mistake. that got put there when we, you know, because we did have that other staff day earlier. So thank you very much. Yes, we will make that change.
I'll bring your. Great, we have a motion. We have a second with Joanne, thank you. Any other questions, discussion, other than moving Fiesta San Antonio Day to its proper spot?
I was hesitant about the library being closed, because people don't really check, they just walk up, they just walk up. But investing in the staff, Romero has made a really great case for how it
That's a good point.
improves every aspect of the system and improves the health of the system, so I'm glad you're pushing us on this. This is good.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And just to be clear, we will do an extensive, or put in place and execute an extensive communication plan, so patrons or our customers will not be surprised. They will know in advance that we're going to be closed on that day for 4 hours. That is something that we always think about. So I just wanted to share that with the board.
That door and they look around and like, the lights are on, but this is responsive.
Can I add one more note, Paul? Can I add one more note? Yeah, can I still comment something? I guess I wondered if, does the library branch staff ever give input into what this calendar might look like, or as y'all are considering that, just, I don't know, surveys and things like that to see what they think about it?
The staff provide general feedback. In fact, this week we were reviewing a staff survey, an internal survey, which our organizational health unit conducts once a year to gauge the employees' perception of the organization, where we may need to improve. One of the things I learned in visiting with managers, primarily managers, when we were looking at the communication, we've done a lot of internal communication, a lot of improvements, but we're still not at the point where we want to be. And one of the things that was proposed by several managers to me is that, Ramiro, it would be great that we could close our branches one day a month so we can have time to communicate and share some of the ideas that are happening and what administration is doing and what's being planned for the future. Well, I was very frank with them. One day a month is going to be difficult, but I'll see what we can do. So this is a proposal. It's something, it's not exactly what many managers expressed to me, but it's a start. Because I know our first priority is serving the public, and they understood, the folks that talked to me, that it's a balance.
I think that's really great context to add to this as we vote.
balance, right? They want even more. They value that time that they can, work together as a team and plan and so forth without everything else happening. But I think it's a good compromise. I supported this when I was hearing about it. So great, good questions. Any other comments or discussion before we vote? Everyone looks ready? Great. All right. So all those in favor of accepting the proposed 2023 holiday and days closed schedule signify with aye. 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 Any opposed? Great. Thank you all very much. Motion carries. Then, now to our last one. Item number 19, election of the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees officers for fiscal year 2023 in accordance with the Library Board of Trustees bylaws. It's an action item led by Andrea, our committee chair.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, the nominating committee submits the following names: for chair, Paul Stahl; for vice chair, Jasprit Kaur; for secretary, Judy Cruz; and for treasurer, Joanne Harris.
Thank you very much, nominating committee, for your work, and Andrea, I really appreciate your efforts on this. I know y'all had meetings. I didn't know they went so late or whatnot, but I know there was a lot of consideration there, and I appreciate y'all's efforts. We are going to be taking each position. We take them one at a time, and there's a very definite formality to this, so bear with me. So first, for chair, I, Paul Stahl, am nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for chair? And this is when I stop and I pause and I look deeply into everybody's eyes. And then I repeat myself. Are there any further nominations? If not, okay, nominations are closed. For vice chair, Jasprit Kaur is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? Are there any further nominations? If not, nominations are closed. For secretary, Judy Cruz is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for secretary? Any further nominations? If not, nominations are closed for secretary. And finally, for treasurer, Joanne Harris is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for treasurer? Any further nominations? If not, nominations are closed for that as well. So, as many are in favor of Paul Stahl for chair, Jasprit Kaur for vice chair, Judy Cruz for secretary, and Joanne Harris for treasurer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. So the ayes have it. The nominated are now elected, and so congratulations, everybody. Great. And that concludes our business. We almost ran late because of Dale. So we don't need a motion for adjournment, but I know everyone wants to make that motion at the same time. Thank you all very much. Great to see everyone again. Everyone be safe going home.